Harley had everything going for it at Sturgis. The roads were packed, riders were everywhere, demo bikes were running all day, and the Bar and Shield was right at home in the Black Hills. If there was ever a place where Harley could get people excited about buying another motorcycle, this was it. But once everyone packed up and rode home, the big question was still sitting there. Did any of that excitement actually turn into sales? Because a busy demo tent looks great, but it doesn't help a dealer unless somebody eventually signs the paperwork. And if you're thinking about buying or trading a Harley right now, that matters more than the crowds. Stick around. Because what Harley needed from Sturgis and what it actually got may be two very different things. What Harley needed. Harley did not go to Sturgis because riders had forgotten the name. Harley went because attention had to become something more valuable. The 86th Sturgis Motorcycle Rally ran from August 7th through August 14th, and Harley-Davidson planted itself across the Black Hills. Official demo locations stretched through Sturgis, Hill City, Deadwood, Pappy Hole Campground, and Rapid City. Riders could see motorcycles, ride them, and talk directly with the Harley brand. That matters because Sturgis already gives Harley something most manufacturers would spend heavily to create: relevance. The Bar and Shield does not need an introduction there. The real bet was whether that cultural strength worked after riders packed their bags and headed home. A rally can create excitement quickly. Engines are running, friends are talking, and motorcycles are everywhere. That environment can put a rider in the mood to consider something new. Harley could strengthen the brand, put motorcycles under riders, collect reactions, and create conversations that might continue later. What we cannot honestly say is how many demonstrations became purchases. Reliable post-rally conversion figures are not publicly available yet. Claiming failure from crowd size alone would be guessing. A company can count people entering a tent. The harder number comes when those people get home. That raises the question Harley cannot solve with rally traffic alone. Why does every completed retail sale matter so much to the dealer waiting back home? Dealer reality. Harley needs dealers that can stay in business. That is the reality behind all the talk about brand strength. A dealership carries motorcycles, employs technicians and salespeople, maintains facilities, supports parts customers, handles warranty work, accepts trades, and gives riders a connection to the manufacturer. None of that works for long if the business cannot make money. Harley leadership has made dealer health a priority. Chief Executive Officer Artie Starrs has emphasized healthier dealer inventory and matching motorcycles with retail demand. Every motorcycle sitting unsold occupies space and ties up money while the dealership still has payroll, utilities, insurance, and costs to cover. For the rider, the part comes later. You may never care about a dealer's balance sheet, and nobody should expect you to buy a motorcycle just to help a store survive. The dealer still has to earn your money. Yet, a weak dealer network eventually reaches the garage. Riders need places to buy parts, arrange service, handle warranty concerns, trade motorcycles, and get support when something goes wrong. A healthy manufacturer with struggling dealers creates its own ownership problem. So, Harley's Sturgis effort carried consequences beyond corporate marketing. Dealers needed customers who saw enough reason to continue the buying conversation. That brings the story to where enthusiasm meets arithmetic, because even a willing buyer can change his mind when the final number lands on the desk. If you appreciate motorcycle stories built around evidence instead of headlines, hit like and subscribe. I also want your experience here. Did Sturgis change how you felt about buying another Harley, or were you already satisfied with what you ride? The final number. The motorcycle can feel right, and the deal can still fall apart. Riders do not finance the number printed largest on a website. They finance the complete transaction sitting in front of them. Harley publishes a manufacturer's suggested retail price, but the amount a customer pays can include other charges: freight, dealer preparation where applicable, documentation. Fees, taxes, registration costs, and financing can change the figure. Some charges come from the manufacturer, some from dealerships, and others depend on local rules. Treating every added dollar as dealer gouging would be inaccurate. The issue is clarity. A rider may walk into a dealership with one price in mind and discover that the amount required to take the motorcycle home feels different. Even when every charge is legitimate, surprise works against confidence. The supplied rider commentary makes that frustration clear. Customers compare what they saw advertised with what appears on the paperwork, while dealerships do not always present charges identically. For somebody who has bought motorcycles before, the important figure is not the headline price, it is the amount attached to the signature. That distinction matters at Sturgis because excitement can begin the conversation. But eventually, somebody has to decide whether the deal makes sense. Harley, therefore, needed more than signs and sales pitches. It needed riders to feel connection with the motorcycles to keep that conversation alive once money entered the picture. Sturgis play. Harley gave riders motorcycles to experience firsthand. Its official Sturgis program spread demonstration rides across 5 Black Hills locations, putting motorcycles within reach in Sturgis, Hill City, Deadwood, Pappy Hole Campground, and Rapid City. Harley did not rely on one display. It placed the riding experience across the rally environment. The Deadwood made that strategy especially clear. Harley introduced the motorcycle with a starting manufacturer's suggested retail price of $17,999 and tied its identity directly to Sturgis and the Black Hills. Harley described it around a stripped-back, wandering spirit rather than presenting it as another anonymous showroom machine. That positioning matters. Sturgis is one of the few places where Harley can connect a new motorcycle with roads, history, community, and the company's own identity together. A rider can see the motorcycle surrounded by the culture it is supposed to represent, then put hands on the controls. Strategically, that is a sensible play. If you want somebody to understand a motorcycle, handing him the bars tells him more than another advertisement ever could. It turns marketing into something tangible, giving riders a direct impression that photographs, slogans, and showroom language simply cannot deliver on their own. Yet, that strength creates the question hanging over the rest of Harley's bet. The rally could create the experience. What it could not reproduce was everything waiting beyond the demonstration route. 20 minutes. A demo ride tells you whether a motorcycle feels right. You notice the reach to the bars, the weight at parking lot speed, the engine beneath you, the brakes, the controls, and whether the seat starts bothering you before the route ends. First impressions matter. They are exactly why putting riders on motorcycles at Sturgis makes more sense than asking them to stare at polished machines behind ropes. What that ride cannot give you is time. 20 minutes cannot show what your shoulders feel like after crossing 2 states, how the motorcycle behaves loaded with luggage, or whether the wind protection still works for you after hours at highway speed. It cannot tell you what maintenance will feel like months later, how smoothly a service problem gets handled, or whether the motorcycle remains comfortable after serious mileage. Experienced riders already know the difference. Plenty of motorcycles can make a strong first impression. Ownership asks different questions, and those answers arrive slowly. You learn where the heat bothers you, what needs adjustment, what wears, what works, and what you would change before another long trip. A short ride can make you want a motorcycle. Serious miles tell you whether you chose the right one. Once the demo route feeds back into the Black Hills, however, the controlled sales environment disappears. South Dakota treats those roads differently during Rally Week for a reason: real roads. South Dakota's preparations show how seriously the state treats rally traffic. For the 2026 event, transportation officials installed temporary traffic signals and reduced speed limits around Sturgis. Interstate 90 dropped from 75 miles per hour to 65 on one stretch, while portions of South Dakota highways, 34 and 79, received larger reductions because officials expected heavier traffic. The Highway Patrol's prior rally reports show why those precautions matter. During the 2025 rally period, official tallies documented injury crashes across the Sturgis and Rapid City districts. One report described a rider on Vaneker Canyon Road who failed to negotiate a curve and went down a steep embankment. Another documented a crash on United States Highway 16A where a motorcycle scraped in a sharp corner, slid across the center line, and struck two oncoming vehicles. Those reports are not evidence that Harley caused the crashes. They are not proof that one motorcycle brand is safer than another. They are evidence of something simpler. Rally riding happens on real roads, with curves, traffic, speed changes, and consequences that no display area can reproduce. Nobody with serious miles needs a lecture about respecting a corner. The useful part is seeing what Highway Patrol actually documented. That changes the perspective. Once the crowd thins and the road opens ahead, confidence comes from something deeper than what impressed you during a demonstration. Familiarity matters. Confidence in a motorcycle grows with repetition. You know how much pressure the front brake wants, how the chassis reacts when a corner tightens, where the clutch engages, and what the motorcycle feels like when the pavement gets rough. None of that requires conscious analysis after enough miles. Your hands and feet already know the answers. Familiarity is difficult to price because it never appears on a specification sheet. It develops through rain, cold mornings, heavy traffic, parking lots, mountain roads, and long interstate stretches. You learn the sounds that are normal and the ones that deserve attention. You know how the motorcycle feels with luggage, a passenger, a full tank, or a strong crosswind. This does not mean an older motorcycle is automatically better, or that changing motorcycles makes a rider less capable. New machines can improve comfort, performance, braking, and technology. The point is that switching has a learning cost. The rider gives up a machine whose reactions have become familiar and starts building that knowledge again. After enough miles, you stop discovering where everything is. You simply ride. That kind of familiarity becomes part of the value calculation whenever another motorcycle asks for your trust. Still, rider confidence tells only one side of the story. Harley arrived at Sturgis, carrying a corporate reputation for trouble, yet its own latest sales figures painted a more complicated picture. Not a collapse. Calling Harley a company in free fall ignores its second quarter numbers before Sturgis. In North America, Harley-Davidson retail motorcycle sales reached 29,751 units, up 3% from a year earlier. Worldwide retail reached 42,467 motorcycles, an increase of 1%. The United States accounted for 27,574 retail sales. Management also raised its full-year guidance. Harley said it expected worldwide retail motorcycle sales to finish between flat and up 5% for 2026. That is not an immediate retail collapse. Touring and sport categories helped North American performance, the company reported. The financial picture was not clean. Harley-Davidson reported consolidated revenue of $1,338 million for the quarter, down 3% year over year. Consolidated net income attributable to Harley-Davidson fell 26% to $80 million. Retail improvement existed alongside pressure elsewhere. That distinction matters. Harley can improve motorcycle sales and still face difficult financial questions. A rally can matter without becoming a miracle cure. The available evidence does not support pretending everything is fine. And it certainly does not support declaring the company dead today based on these results alone. The harder problem was waiting in thousands of garages. Harley was not only competing against other manufacturers, it was competing against motorcycles its own customers already knew and trusted. In your garage, Harley's hardest competitor may already be parked in your garage, not another brand, not another dealer. It may be the Harley you finished paying for years ago, already fitted to your body, maintained the way you want, and carrying enough miles that every control feels familiar. That creates a difficult replacement threshold. A newer motorcycle does not merely have to look good. It has to give an owner enough additional value to justify replacing something that already works. If the current bike starts every morning, handles long trips, fits properly, and has been maintained carefully, keeping it can be a rational decision. Customization makes that hurdle higher. Seats, bars, windshields, luggage, suspension changes, exhaust work, lighting, and countless smaller adjustments can turn a stock motorcycle into something personal. Those changes cost money, but they also cost time. Starting again means rebuilding that setup around another machine. There is an emotional side too, and riders understand it without being told what to feel. A motorcycle can carry trips, friendships, breakdowns, roadside repairs, and thousands of ordinary miles that eventually become memories. None of that automatically makes an older Harley mechanically superior to a newer one. A dealership can discount a new motorcycle. It cannot discount the years spent getting your current one exactly right. That leaves Harley with a harder job than attracting attention. Build something compelling enough to make an owner create another space in the garage. If this kind of straight motorcycle coverage is what you want more of, subscribe to Motorcycle Heads. We follow the numbers, separate corporate promotion from what riders actually experience, and keep watching the story long after everyone else moves on. Product answer. Harley's answer is not simply more motorcycles. The company is trying to give riders different reasons to consider one. The Deadwood is a clear example because its purpose is deliberately simple. A stripped-back cruiser designed as a starting point rather than a finished statement. Harley describes the Deadwood as a motorcycle built for riders who want room to make it their own. The factory presentation leans into blacked-out finishes, a solo seat, a compact profile, and styling tied to the Black Hills. That matters strategically because customization has always been one of Harley's strongest ownership habits. The company is selling the base motorcycle while leaving visible room for the owner. That approach addresses part of the replacement problem without pretending every rider wants the same thing. Someone with a carefully personalized Harley may not be looking for more equipment. He may want a clean foundation that can be shaped around his own riding. The important question is not whether Harley can make another attractive motorcycle. Harley has been doing that for generations. The harder question is whether a current model creates enough difference, usefulness, or possibility to justify disrupting an ownership setup that already works. That is where product strategy becomes more than styling. A new motorcycle needs a reason to exist beside the one already trusted. Even the right motorcycle, however, eventually leaves the sales floor. From that point forward, much of the ownership experience depends on the people behind the dealership doors. After the sale, the dealership matters differently once the paperwork is finished. Before the sale, the motorcycle gets the attention. Afterward, service communication, parts availability, warranty handling, and technical competence can determine whether the owner feels supported or stranded. That relationship becomes important when miles accumulate. A service department that explains what it found, orders the correct parts, keeps realistic schedules, and stands behind its work builds confidence. A dealership that cannot communicate clearly can damage that confidence even when the motorcycle itself has done nothing wrong. Local reputation matters for the same reason. Riders talk. They remember which service departments solved problems and which ones created new ones. They know where technicians understand the machines and where appointments become frustrating. None of that appears on the motorcycle's specification sheet, yet it becomes part of ownership. Warranty work makes the relationship even more important. When something needs attention, the owner is not dealing with a national advertising campaign. He is dealing with the service counter in front of him. That local experience can shape how he feels about the entire brand. This is separate from whether a dealership makes enough money to survive. The customer does not owe the dealer loyalty simply because the building is open. Trust has to be earned repeatedly after the sale. Harley's leadership appears to recognize that customer perception cannot be understood entirely through spreadsheets. At Sturgis, its new chief executive put himself where those opinions were hardest to filter, among the riders themselves. Listening tour. Artie Starrs did not spend Sturgis hidden behind a corporate presentation. Harley's new chief executive appeared publicly during rally events, including the city's opening ceremony, where local coverage documented him joining Harley representatives and speaking about the company's connection with Sturgis. He was also photographed participating in rally activities and meeting people around the event. That visibility matters because Starrs entered Harley from outside the motorcycle industry. He became chief executive in October of 2025 after previously leading Topgolf Callaway brands. Walking around Sturgis cannot replace decades inside motorcycle culture, yet it gives him something corporate reports cannot: unfiltered contact with the people Harley needs to understand. The supplied rider account goes further. It describes Starrs approaching customers and asking what they did not like about Harley-Davidson. That specific exchange should remain attributed to the account, unless independently documented. Still, the broader behavior fits a chief executive publicly trying to understand customer concerns firsthand. There is a useful distinction here. Listening is not evidence that a problem has been solved. A rider complaining about pricing, service, styling, or anything else does not create a fix simply because the chief executive heard him. Yet listening before prescribing matters, especially for a leader still learning the culture surrounding the motorcycles his company sells. The more convincing test was already taking shape away from speeches and handshakes. Harley had begun changing something measurable inside its dealer network. How many motorcycles were sitting there waiting for buyers? Fewer bikes sitting. Harley had already started changing dealer inventory before riders reached Sturgis. How many motorcycles were sitting inside dealerships nationwide before Sturgis? At the end of the first quarter, global dealer inventory was 22% lower than a year earlier. By the end of the second quarter, it remained 17% lower year over year. That reduction matters because Harley was deliberately sending fewer motorcycles into the network than customers were taking out. During the second quarter, wholesale shipments ran below retail sales. Wholesale means motorcycles Harley sends to dealers. Retail means motorcycles dealers actually sell to customers. When retail moves faster than wholesale, existing stock can come down instead of continuing to pile up. That is a practical change, not a rally slogan. It suggests management was trying to match supply more closely with actual demand before Sturgis began. It also means the rally cannot receive credit for an inventory correction already underway. There is no guarantee the strategy solves every dealer problem. The important point is narrower. Harley was taking measurable action instead of simply hoping another event would clear showroom floors. Moving fewer unwanted motorcycles into dealerships is not glamorous. It may matter more than another packed event tent. That gives us something solid to measure. The harder question is whether anybody can yet produce the number that proves Sturgis itself delivered the commercial result Harley needed. Show me the number. Here is where the headline has to survive the same scrutiny as Harley. We can document the rally presence. We can document the demo program. We can document Harley's financial results before Sturgis. What we cannot honestly produce yet is an authoritative figure showing how many rally interactions became motorcycle purchases after riders returned home to their local dealerships. That missing number matters. A crowded demonstration area proves interest. It does not establish sales conversion. The absence of public conversion data does not prove riders walked away either. A convincing scorecard needs later information. Retail registrations can show whether motorcycles reached customers. Dealer demand can reveal whether interest held. Inventory aging can show whether older motorcycles continue sitting. The relationship between wholesale shipments and retail sales can reveal whether Harley keeps supply disciplined. Dealer profitability can show whether improvement reaches the businesses selling and servicing the motorcycles. Those signals take time. Future reporting periods matter more than photographs of crowded tents because they capture what happened after normal buying conditions returned. Sometimes the most useful thing an investigation can tell you is which number does not exist yet. That prevents marketing excitement or skepticism from being mistaken for proof, so the verdict stays conditional. To know whether the bet truly paid off, watch what Harley and its dealers report when Sturgis is no longer generating the attention. What to watch? The useful signals from here are not complicated. Start with retail performance. If demand remains stronger after Sturgis, future reports should show motorcycles reaching customers rather than merely reaching dealer floors. Then watch inventory direction. Harley has already reduced dealer stock substantially from the previous year. The question is whether that discipline continues without starving dealers of desirable motorcycles. Rising inventory would deserve attention, especially if retail demand weakens at the same time. Pricing behavior deserves watching too. Persistent discounts, incentives, or aggressive dealer promotions can tell you something about how easily certain motorcycles are moving. One markdown does not prove a crisis. A lasting, broader pattern can say much more. Product decisions will provide another clue. Harley has been experimenting with motorcycles positioned around customization and accessibility rather than relying entirely on expensive halo machines. Watch whether management expands that direction, changes it, or retreats from it. Dealer health remains important, but judge it carefully. One closure cannot describe a national network. Patterns matter. The same applies to customer complaints. Stars listening at Sturgis becomes meaningful only if future decisions address recurring concerns riders can actually see. None of these signals requires cheering for Harley or betting against it. They help riders clearly separate real improvement from promotion. Eventually, though, every spreadsheet loses importance beside the reason Sturgis matters in the first place. People still ride there. The ride home. When Rally Week winds down, the Black Hills change again. Motorcycles sit cooling outside motels, saddlebags get packed, helmets are strapped down. Riders check the weather, choose a route, and point toward home. The banners and corporate displays stay behind. Harley enters that scene with something money alone cannot easily buy. The company still belongs naturally at Sturgis. Generations recognize the badge, history, and what Harley should build. Even criticism proves people still care enough to argue about it. That heritage, however, does not settle the decision waiting in somebody's garage. Harley has to earn another purchase. A dealership has to earn the relationship that follows it. A motorcycle has to earn its place beside, or instead of, a machine the owner already understands. Those tests happen quietly. There is no stage when someone keeps his current motorcycle. No press release appears when a new Harley finally earns the change. Sturgis gave Harley the crowd, the roads, and all the attention it could ask for. What it didn't guarantee was the one thing dealers still need most: riders willing to buy. The real answer will come after the tents are gone, when sales, inventory, and discounts tell the story. If you think Harley's Sturgis bet paid off, or missed the mark, tell me in the comments. And if you value straight motorcycle videos like the video, and subscribe to Motorcycle Heads.